Good morning everyone and welcome back to the Shamrock Quilt Studio. Today we're doing another episode of our AZURE project. And this is going to be block number 68, open book. And this, I think, is going to be a really simple block to put together now that we have our little subunits constructed. So join us right after this and we'll get it done. Well, hi. I think today's video is going to be pretty short because we've only got 5 subunits to put together for this particular block, and I think they'll go together without too much of a problem. So let's see what we've got going on here. Now you should be able to see in our overhead camera, and I've got a mess here on my table. In fact, my studio is a mess. So one of my projects today is to try to get in here and get some organization done and a priority list of what needs to be done. So that's why I'm concentrating on something pretty simple today. This is open book, and you can see here is the little pattern, and I've already marked it up how I wanted to distribute my fabric pieces and hues for this. And there are only 5 subunits. Can you see all 5 of those? Maybe not. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Now let me take some of this stuff here away, and we will start on this. I was trying to kind of work on 2 at the same time, getting the little pieces together, and we've got a lot more here than we really need. Okay, so we've got the subunits, and these little subunits, here's an example of one. And I marked these that we were going to use the medium color for the bigger section and then a lighter color for the smaller section. And when you turn those over to see the fabrics, that's what you get. And in the middle of this is going to be a really dark piece. So I think that's going to be really striking when we put it together. Now, here's where I always get tangled up in my instructions because I never read until it's too late the assembly instructions. So what it says is we're going to sew, first of all, A to B. So A to B. And those are going to go together like this. So then let's get started. And we're going to use our same philosophy as we have been using. We're using our same philosophy that we have been using on the others. We're going to come in here at the corners, and then we're going to do the same thing with this. Now this is a square, so the side you choose to start with is really not going to matter. First time. Okay, we've got those together, and let's see if we can scrounge up a couple of clips. I think those will work for right now. There's another pin, and then we're going to sew. Okay, we're just going to start, and we'll just stick this pin in here to hold it. Okay, we're going to start, as always, on that line. And we're using a really small stitch so we can take those paper pieces out after we're finished. And I'm only sewing to the end of the diagram because we'll be joining more and we don't need that extra stitching to get in the way. Okay, so A to B, and A to B is done, and that looks really good. Can you see that? Okay, so now it says A to D, and D is the opposite side, the B and the D. So then let's get that on here. That's going to be the same thing we've been doing. Okay, so while I wonder why they have us put the opposite side on first and not just go with the piece that would be the next in line, kind of like a pinwheel fashion, that I don't know. But we're going to try it their way. Okay. And I'm going to move that pen. And we're going to sew that one little straight section. Okay. Get our clips out. And there we go. So now we've got our little spool looking unit together. And now they're telling us to put this, the B section, the DAB, which is this whole thing, with C next. And C is going to go, you know, it's backwards. That's just, ooh, that just messes with my mind. So C goes here. So what we're going to do is we're going to again come in here with these points. And it's going to be a little more difficult now because we've got that seam. So let's do this. Let's take that seam out. Not the seam. I'm sorry, not the seam. Let's take that paper out, or at least some of it. And that means taking these basting stitches along the edge out. I think if you get more experienced with foundation paper piecing, you may not have to do these basting stitches on the edges. But for now, I'm still doing them. I feel like I'm still a novice or a lightly experienced quilter with foundation paper piecing, so I'd rather do that. Okay, there we go. I think in the long run this is really going to be helpful because we're not going to have to deal with so much paper. And again, if I could find a paper that was a little thicker than tissue paper to do this with, I think it would be very helpful because you could use it as your foundation but then be able to strip it away pretty quickly. We used to have something called onion skin that people would make carbon copies out of. And I think something about that thickness, whoops, didn't mean to do that, would be helpful. Okay, back to this now. All right, we've got D's and B's and we need to put on C. So we've got C here. And where's another pen? Here. Okay, that one's lined up. That one's lined up. Let's put this clip in the middle. And what we're going to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this straight section here. And then I'm going to take it out of the machine. Well, let me back that up. I'm going to sew this straight section here, leave my needle down, and then try to pivot it to be able to sew this section, and then come back and do that one. and then left that pin on until I got it right underneath the presser foot, and then I took it out. So I'm going to back stitch, just one stitch there in the beginning, move forward, take my clip out, still got that pin in, and I'm going to pull it out just as it reaches the edge of the foot, and back stitch one, well, it made two. Sometimes it decides on its own what it wants to do. Now the foot is down, excuse me, the needle is down, the foot is up, and I'm going to try to pivot that one section to see if we could make that happen. And that's, I don't think it's going to work. So let's, all that paper is just so hard to fold in there. Okay. All right, so we've got that section down. We just need to do these corners. And I think, again, what we're going to do is take some of this paper out. Because a lot of times that's what's keeping us from positioning it correctly. If it were just fabric, you know that you can manipulate that pretty well. But this paper has a mind of its own. Okay, so we've got the paper still on this section, but we've taken it off here. Now what I'm going to try to do is manipulate this around. Where did my pins go? There they are. So that this can go into this back here. There we go. All right, and then we need to clip that. And we're going to clip it back here. And now we want to sew this. And I think we're going to be able to do that. What I'm going to do is just crease it. Okay? Put that needle, we're going to put that needle back right in the corner. Let's see how we did. Oh, that looks so good. Look at that. So now let's do the same thing on the other end. All right, and again, let's see how we did. It's looking good. So now let's just do the last side and we'll be all done. Okay, we've got them all together now. We still have a bunch of paper in there. But there's our block, open book. And even though we've not ironed anything, and I mean, when I say we haven't ironed anything, I haven't ironed the subunits. I just put them in there and finger pressed them when I was assembling them. But that's our block. It came together really, really nicely. The instructions work fine, even though I find I do better when I sew them in sections with those Y seams instead of trying to sew them all the way through. And that is just, I think, a function of experience. The more you're experienced with it, the easier I think it would be and the more confident you would be and I would be to be able to do that. But I tell you, I'm not even going to press this one to show you because I think we are, wow, that's a great looking block. And to be able to do that with no pressing, I think is a testament to the fact that it's a basic block with not a whole lot of pieces, and the construction is pretty straightforward. It does need some little TLC here to get some of these threads out and get all this paper off the back. Most of the paper is still there. The only paper that's come out is this around the seam. And we can certainly manage those seams and press them so that they will lay flat for us. I hope you enjoyed this block today. This is number 68, Open Book. It looks a bit like a pinwheel to me, but I suppose there's a reason for it to be called Open Book. It was really good, and it would be a great block for people who have very little experience with foundation paper piecing. With the Y seams, I'm not sure it should be the first block you try, but it certainly could be one up there after a block or two that you've been successful with and you've got a little bit of confidence. You should be able to do this without any problem at all. Again, number 68, Open Book. Hope you enjoy it, and it is a fun addition to our repertoire of what we can do. If you enjoyed this video today, give us a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next week right back here at the Shamrock Quilt Studio. Bye.